Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Spinner Rack. I'm here with my boy Cal. Cal, please lay it on us. How's it going?
Hey, ready to rock.
Ready to rock. Hey, so today we're talking about there is going to be, according to Bleeding Cool, there's a scoop. Their scoop is that there's going to be the world, the Superman the World for 2025, which is a sequel to Batman the World. And that was where they had Batman, various artists from various countries, artists and writers from different countries, show their version of what they think Batman could be. So here in AIPT, I believe it is AIPT, they showed you different writers and artists and their versions of Batman the World. The Brian Azzarello one is just off the chain. The art that he has in there is like fantastic. I definitely loved it. The story was wild, but here you see Batman in different. He's basically in Gotham, but they different countries: South Korea, Italy, France. They have their own versions of what they in art that they use to talk about Batman. So here, this is the French version here. You see Wonder Woman is involved. You also see here you had someone who looks like the Statue of Liberty. No, actually, yes, two sides. So I'm not even sure about that. I read the story a while ago, but kind of forgot it. But it was very popular. It was very different, and you got different incarnations of what Batman the world would be. The art changed around. You have the German version. Some of it was a little bit more horror, some a little bit more detective. The art sometimes was crisper than others. Sometimes it wasn't quite as crisp. But and some of it stayed to the original mythology, and others they changed it around to make it, I guess, more current with their particular situation. You have color. Some was in color. Some was in black and white. Um, but it was interesting. Just a different take on it. You got Mexico. This is the Mexico version. Of course, with the dead people. So here, they're going to be doing it the same thing with Superman. So of course, we bring our resident Superman expert himself, the comic book hero himself. Cap, what is your take? What do you think? They have a creative team. Brian Azzarello is going to be on this again with Lee
Oh, good Lord, no,
uh, Matthew Gabella, many people, Paco Roca, Alberto
no,
Chimal. So it's going to
no,
be,
no,
and
no.
it's supposed to come out around the same time as the Superman movie. What's your take? And I think Dan Jurgens is going to be in this one too. You know, he
Dan
won't.
Jurgens will do no harm, so that's fine. But Brian Azzarello, no, just no. Doesn't need to be anywhere near Superman. Brian Azzarello, the two storylines I know of that he dealt with Superman. One was his For Tomorrow storyline, which really that was just a misstep at the end of the day. But it was saved by great art from Jim Lee, and then he also dealt with Superman in the most recent Dark Knight series, which is DK3, the Master Race, and he's not shown that he has an understanding of his character. I think he wants Superman to act in a particular way, but not that he has an understanding of his character. Now, the fact that Brian Azzarello was attached to it, that's name recognition at the end of the day. And I think I think guys like Brian Azzarello, whether they realize it or not, their approach to Superman is that I'm going to show how tough Superman is. He's a no nonsense guy. Too many times he's like seemed too passive, and I'm going to make him a little bit more rough and tumble. That thing, and that's not Superman. Superman's Superman's passive because or reactive because he's got all the power in the world and he knows that he has to exercise it with responsibility as opposed to another character. And if you don't get that, if you think that Superman needs to up his cool points, then you really don't need to be writing the character. And that's what I've seen with Brian Azzarello. With him being attached, I'm like, ugh. There was a series came out not too long ago called Superman Red and Blue, and this was an anthology series where guys came on and they wrote short Superman stuff, and almost all of them were bad. Almost all of them were bad. Uh, John Ridley, who's actually working on Action Comics right now, had this Superman story where Superman was being tortured. He got captured, he didn't have his powers, and he's being tortured. And I'm like, who approved this? Or you would have a story where Superman is like knocked out by kryptonite and some little kid is helping him. And I was looking over this and I was like, what is the appeal of these stories? But it says, oh, wait a minute. This is where these guys are. Okay. They don't have a good Superman story. They either want to tell a different story than they think should be done for Superman, or they just don't really have any idea. They want to tell a different character, but they've been asked to do a Superman story. So Superman is either always weak, he's got to be shown to be getting beat up, suffering, or what have you. And then that shows, that shows us, the humanity of Superman and so on and so forth. But there's no sense of wonder. The morality is out the window. They just don't get why people like the character. So I would be I mean, Brian Azzarello has never shown me that he understands Superman. So if you have more guys like that on the book, good grief. I can only, I don't have a lot of hope for it. Dan Jurgens will do no harm.
Isn't Dan
Dan
Jurgens?
Jurgens will do no harm with Superman, and he understands Superman's character post 1986, where they want to do the well. No, that wouldn't be fair. Dan Jurgens has done very good character work in terms of Superman overall. The dynamism of Superman, I would like to see more with him, but he's not really there. But he's also coming out of the approach to Superman, circa 1986, where they really wanted him they pretty much just wanted him to be human with superpowers.
Right.
So he's not a Kryptonian. He's a guy from Kansas. He's not too bright either. He's not very smart, but he's got such a big heart. And, when he makes a speech, everybody listens. That's, the type of approach that I've seen since 1986. Even though Dan Jurgens is responsible for some of my favorite stories, when it comes to Superman, overall, he's more of a character writer with Superman than instead of as opposed to giving some like really dynamic stories about him. You read the stories, you're like, okay, this is what makes him tick. But then I'm like, all right, well, give me some stuff, that really dazzles me in terms of the wonder of this guy. And I can't really say that that's always been there when it comes to Jurgens, even though without a doubt, I respect Jurgens and love the stuff that he's done with Superman overall.
What about this cover for Superman 11 with Lee Bermejo? I see what you're saying about Jurgens and Azzarello, but look at this cover with Crypto and Superman flying. The sun is setting. It looks like.
What year is this from?
It's pretty recent. Look, it doesn't look pretty. Like,
Superman 11. Is that going to be in the book? I don't.
February 2024. No, but I'm talking about his art style. Bermejo's art style.
Lee Bermejo's got a great art style. I love what he's done. He's done another Superman cover that I thought was really cool. I can't remember if it was Superman or Action Comics, but he also did the artwork for Batman Noel, and Superman appeared in that, and I really liked how he was rendered. So I don't have any problem with Lee Bermejo's art, but Lee Bermejo is going to be drawing somebody else's story for the most part.
Got it. Okay. I mean, that's interesting to say. So you are a pass on the whole Superman
No,
world.
no, 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 no. You want to see? I mean, have they revealed the list of who's going to be on the book? I
Yeah,
know.
they
So
have,
who's going to be
they
on the
have,
book?
they have at least a couple of people who are going to be on the book. So let me bring this up again.
Yeah, give them to me. Give them to me like give them to me one at a time so I can respond to them.
I'll just read the beginning of this article.
Because I read that same article, but all the people they named, those are people who are on the Batman book.
You're right. This is the Batman book. You're right. So you're right. It is. They haven't named. I haven't seen anyone yet. Let me take a look and see. They're giving him any more detail. Well, actually, it's being published by Penguin. It looks like the hero who inspired generations. Uh, who do they have listed? Okay, here it is. Dan Jurgens is supposed to be a writer. Supposed to be the writer for this. Okay, so it says
He's
written by a team of top international talent, including Dan Jurgens and Lee Weeks. That's who it's supposed to be.
okay. Well, Dan Jurgens, Lee Weeks on Superman, great. Dan Jurgens, fine. Okay, I really like the stuff that Lee Weeks did in terms of John Kent. So I love that stuff. But I really want to see who else is going to be on this book, and whether or not this is somebody who's shown they understand how to write a good Superman story.
And
It's unfortunate right now because when we were coming up reading comics, you had guys who were good writers, meaning that they knew how to write a detective story, a western, a cosmic adventure, a caper. They understood the difference in these stories and were able to execute. And they understood that a Superman story was not the same as a Batman story. Batman story was not the same as a Wonder Woman or an Aquaman story. There was going to be different things coming onto it. So if I had somebody like, say, Peter David, Peter David, I got a chance to speak with him, and I asked if he ever, had an inkling to write Superman. And he shook his head and said, no. He said, Superman is such a complete character. There's nothing I really feel I could do with him. So he just like, no, he begged off. I wish more guys were honest like that of their own, of the character and of their own ability to approach the character. Because I would rather some guys say, no, I don't have anything to say about this character because he's so fully formed, so complete. I need a little bit of room, and Superman doesn't really offer me that. I find that to be fine. I would prefer that as opposed to somebody like, yeah, I think I could come up with the story idea, and it's about Superman being tortured, and that's supposed to somehow be that's supposed to somehow be a story that people are going to vibe into. But Lee Weeks, definitely love the way he renders Superman. Uh, Dan Jurgens again. Dan Jurgens will do no harm. Okay, Dan Jurgens will do no harm. He is a steady hand at the tiller, and with him on the book, that is going to be some comforting name recognition overall. But I'm just really, I am very precautious in terms of who they decide to put on this book. Because when you start talking about Brian Azzarello, I'm like, this guy has never shown an understanding of Superman. And if you start throwing some other people over there who have never shown anything, if you say, what's this guy's name again? Mm, his name's escaping me. He did Superman up in the sky, and he also did something else with Superman, but I cannot remember his name right now. Tom, can't remember his name. Anyway, but
I think Dan Jurgens is going to be the key person here, so I don't think you really have to worry about that. But Lee Weeks, I mean, I think the last thing he did was the Superman for Superman Lost, right? So, and that looked spectacular, the art.
that storyline was terrible.
But this art was spectacular.
But you're drawing somebody's terrible story.
Good. What can I say?
I'm like, I don't. Tom King did a very good story with. He did Superman up in the sky. That was very well received, very solid story at the end of the day. So if you get guys like that on the book, he also did a short story for Superman 1000, and that was Action Comics 1000. That was also very well received. So if you get guys like that on the book who understand the character and you can trust they're going to really deliver some stuff, no problem. And if they're going to do it internationally, that also makes me wonder because you got to understand, what for a lot of these guys, Superman represents America.
Hmm.
So, okay, you got some guy out here in the Netherlands. I don't know where they're going to be getting all their talent from, but you got some guy out in China, Japan, the Netherlands, wherever it may be, South America, and they're looking at Superman. Well, how do they see Superman? Especially since for a lot of people, he represents, the United States. So are they going to be like, well, this is my chance to make a criticism about the imperialist government of the United States? Or, you know, do they look at Superman the character and say, no, this is a great American creation? So that's something else that comes into play, and that does not come into play with Batman. It doesn't come into play with him at all. So
Yeah.
now,
Let's not go there. Let's just focus on Superman, okay?
well, I only say that because they're doing Superman as an afterthought because of the success of the Batman book. So they're hoping that they'll have similar success with Superman. That's the only reason why I bring it up.
Okay. Okay. I can see what you're saying now. All right. So, are we into this or are we not into this? I thought Batman: The World was a little mixed in terms of what I saw and liked, but it was an interesting take on it. It's like it reminds me of Spider-Man, where you have the Indian Spider-Man, and if anything comes out successful, probably they will bring some stuff out. And like I was telling you before, it kind of reminded me of the whole Batman Incorporated, where they had different Batman. Bruce Wayne went around the world funding like this organization whereby they were having Batman to fight local, just bat people to fight crime in their local areas. But this is totally different in terms of it's just, um, you know, people representing Batman around the world. And I guess the same thing with Superman going forward. Hello?
I'm listening. I don't mm, 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 mm. I think I hate to bring Batman back into it. I think the execution of Batman is much easier for these guys than Superman. And but if you're saying that you read the Batman stuff and you found it to be mixed overall, and I know you're a Batman fan, then that makes me even more precautious about the Superman stuff because I don't think these guys understand how to tell a good Superman. Superman is the servant of the people. He has all the power in the world, and he's using this to help other people. And if you don't get that the best Superman stories where he's using all of that power and does all these dynamic things is to save one little girl or to save the planet. Like if you don't get that, and that's the stories that you really need to deliver, the ones that are going to resonate, then you don't need to be anywhere around the character. It's not saying that you have to do that particular story. That would be kind of bland if everybody's rendering it that stories of that nature. But you have to understand what the character is predicated on, and then go from there. And a lot of them, I want to tell a story against type. I want to tell a story where Superman doesn't save the day, and now he has to deal with his failure and how he's going to, this failure is going to help him to develop his character even more, and he's going to go on realizing that he can't always save the day. Who wants to read that story? Do I really want to see a story where Superman loses? But somehow like, oh yeah, but he can lose just like everybody else. No, Superman losing is terrible. Superman losing means people are dying or the planet is no longer safe. We don't really have hope. When we see Superman, we have hope because we believe he's going to be able to save us. Not, oh, well, he tried hard, but he didn't get it right. Maybe next time, Superman. No. So if that's your approach, so you don't need to be around this character. You don't.
Hey, look, let's give it a try and see what goes on.
No, you give it a try. I'll let you give it a try.
You'll always read Superman. You may say that, but you will always read it.
I will buy it, and it'll go in my collection, but I may never read it.
It's just like the Superman Lex Luthor special. You're going to get that too. So you always do. So listen, if you like what you hear, give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Spin a rack.
Hey, we're out.
We're out.